Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 89. I'm Enigmus, and today we're going down to the surface of Mars. It's time. It's beyond time. I think we're going to aim for the edge of this icy area, just in case we decide that we need more ice. It could happen. But other than that, we basically go wherever the hell we want. There's nothing in particular, nothing specific by way of landmarks that we're looking for now. We're not taking just any other ship. We're taking the, I think, mostly completed WobbleCopter Mark II. We're going to take it down to the surface. We're going to try and set it up, and we're going to see if it's going to work as is. And if it does, then we're in good shape. Then we can work on the dropship for the WobbleCopters. And we should be able to set up a fleet of these guys down on the surface of the planet before long, and gather all the resources we could ever need or want. We're going to take a look now, while the view is good, at what we've done to the WobbleCopter since the last episode, and then we're going to head off down to the planet, because we're going to be using the remote control, and when we get down there, we're just going to have the camera for views to be able to look at things, what's going on. And it's not necessarily the most ideal situation, just because I just looked at it, and I don't want to forget, we've added some ore detectors. There's a total of 2 ore detectors. I find that they seem to give the more accurate reading when there's 2 or more. I could be wrong. Don't take my word for it, but it seems that they give me the decimal point reading for the distance to the detected deposit, whereas 1 just gives you the flat number. We've finished the drill, the bore head. It's quite a bit more robust than it was previously. It's got the aggressive sort of layout for the drills themselves. We're going to test it. There's no guarantee that it's actually going to do anything special. If it works the way that I hope it will, it could be quite a breakthrough in design. Alternatively, it could be just a big load of crap. You never know until you try. We've got a section here set up to eject stone. I don't know how well that's going to work, given that it's not even guaranteed to be cleared, the terrain around it, on account of the drills being here right next to it. We'll see. Again, it's just testing. It's not crucial that it work 100%. Just we need to get it down there and see what is and isn't working, and then make some adjustments as we go. So we've got lots of drills facing all kinds of wonky directions, and we'll see how that goes. I don't remember if there was a specific reason why I made these upper blade kind of sections so wide. I think it was purely aesthetic. It started off with putting the gyros in place. There's 4 gyros total, and these are responsible for making the bore head rotate. They're set to override for the yaw, and that's what they're going to do. That's all they do, is make this thing rotate. And then I decided, you know what, I don't really want the gyros sitting on top of everything where you can just see them sitting there. So I built around them, and it turned from a simple stick coming out from the center to something a little more elaborate. The thing is, it's a little heavier as well. We're trying to be very mindful of the weight of this guy, because we have to make sure that the thrusters that we've installed are going to be enough to keep it at least hovering in position when the cargo container with all the goodies is full. So we kind of have to keep an eye on that. We had the auto gyro in place in the last episode, and we haven't really changed it. There's nothing that we've touched. We've added some spotlights on the underside of it, just so that we can help illuminate the area where we're mining. We've also added a camera down here somewhere. I feel like I should be able to tell you exactly where it is, but I can't. It's not that important. The important thing is that we have a camera that will allow us to see what's going on, where the drills are, so that we can determine whether we're on materials, whether we've gone through the materials and we're on stone. And again, it's set up specifically so that we can do these little checks and status updates with the remote control, and not have to worry about going all the way down to the planet to see what's going on. So it's somewhere around here where it will have a view of these things, and we'll be able to check things with the remote control, and then move on with our lives. Up here we've got the wheels. These are the same wheels that we had last time. They're just designed to give it a little bit of insurance if it's going down a tunnel that was created by the bore head, that the wheels will stop it from colliding with the walls if things get a little bit bumpy down there. And then up here we've added all the control stuff that's necessary to make all this work. We've got our remote control station, we've got timer blocks, we've got the large antenna, and that's basically everything that a growing WobbleCopter needs, I think, to get started. We've got a camera on the front. I can show you that. There you go. See, it's a camera. So that when we're when we've got it set to remote control mode and we're on our way down to the planet or wherever we're trying to move it to, we can have a reasonable idea of exactly what's in front of us, to reduce the likelihood that we collide with things for no reason other than the fact that we can't see. Now, there's one relatively significant adjustment that I made, or addition, depending on how you choose to look at it. I think addition is a suitable word. Is the Hummingbird, which is this thing right here on the side of the WobbleCopter. This is like a little drone that we can detach from the WobbleCopter, also controlled by remote, so that we can fly around and get a better view of what's going on, as opposed to the views that are limited by the cameras attached to the WobbleCopter itself. So we can detach one of these guys and fly around, take a look at the WobbleCopter it was attached to, take a look at other WobbleCopters in the fleet, whatever we want to do. It's designed to be a compact little ship. It's not designed to carry cargo, it's not designed to carry supplies, nothing. It's just, you can fly it around and you can look at stuff, and that's about all. So we've got all kinds of thrusters. We've got atmospheric thrusters, so that when we're in the atmosphere, those will be what we use primarily. We've got ion thrusters, small ion thrusters, so that if we're not in atmosphere, we can use them to maneuver around. And if we're, for whatever reason, trying to fly the drone through a gravity well out into space, we have, you know, the combination of the two different thrusters to hopefully keep us moving, though I don't expect that that'll ever be something we're trying to do. And there's the camera that we'll be seeing the world from, with the spotlight directly below it, so that we get a little bit of illumination. So I've been busy trying to think of things that we might want to have attached to this WobbleCopter, and now all that's left to do is hop into the control seat and fly on down there, probably over in that direction, and see what we can see. So just in case you're wondering, since we've got it set up, our character is sitting in the control seat of the Spectre Omni, but we're controlling the WobbleCopter. You can see we can move it around, kind of like that. It's kind of fun. I made sure we had plenty of gyros so that it would rotate fairly easily. We'd be able to maneuver things as, you know, as best we possibly could. But the thing is, you're still stuck with the viewpoint from the ship where you're sitting. So this is why we have the cameras, so that we can select from the WobbleCopter the navigation forward camera and view, and then between the two, it's a little bit tricky because things are kind of working in opposite directions to what you might expect. The camera, yes, everything is actually the exact opposite of what you would expect. I'm pressing the button that would rotate us counterclockwise, just to make it easy to describe, and as you can see, we're rotating clockwise. So there's that. Our mass is a little on the high side. Part of that would be the Hummingbird, which is not necessarily ideal, but the other part is all the little goodies that we added, because we got a little bit carried away. We should be okay though. We should be fine with the atmospheric thrusters that we have. Before I start moving, I just want to kind of get a feel for how the controls are going to be. This is going to be awkward. This is going to be very awkward indeed. Now we're jumping right in here. We're directly on course to Mars, and I want to be able to tell you that from the beginning to the end, we fought the good fight. We knew exactly what we were doing. Everything worked exactly as we had planned, and we made it to the surface without incident. But that was definitely not the case. You may notice in the middle of the screen, just to the left of the crosshair, is now a labeled object called Comet Relay 1. It's a wee tiny little ship that we made and parked it just above the gravity well of Mars, so that we have the antenna range necessary for us to maintain control of the WobbleCopter all the way down to the surface. On our first attempt, we lost control of the ship when we got out of range of the antennas between the WobbleCopter and the Spectre Omni, and if I had left it for long enough, I'm sure the WobbleCopter would have crashed horribly into the surface of Mars and been completely obliterated. So that wasn't exactly the best outcome. I also mentioned previously the controls were kind of backwards. Big part of that was the remote control block was backwards on the ship. There's really no way to tell from looking at it just what is the front and what is the back, but at least we were able to get it straightened out, and that helped a lot. And also labeling the remote control blocks, because when we've got the Hummingbird attached to the WobbleCopter, there was nothing distinguishing between the two. So we could be using the remote control block on the Hummingbird to control the WobbleCopter with the camera facing forward on the WobbleCopter, and the controls are just very difficult to sort out. But we were able to sort them out, and we were able to make it pretty close to the surface, and I stopped there because there's a bunch of things that we have to do, not necessarily simultaneously, but fairly close to one another. Before we get too close to the surface, I want to detach the Hummingbird so that we can get it flying around and kind of keeping an eye on the WobbleCopter. And also, I want it to be able to gauge the level of the WobbleCopter, because the artificial horizon that we said we were supposed to have isn't showing up. So I have no idea whether or not the main section of the WobbleCopter is relatively level compared to the ground. And if it's not, we can use the auto gyro leveling of the borehead to help us out. So that's kind of a neat little feature that we have that built in. It's not exactly what it was originally intended for, but it'll help us get a feel for whether or not we're coming down straight or if we're making a mess of things. So that's a thing. We need to find an ore deposit. We need to start up the WobbleCopter, get the borehead going, and then observe it for a while. Probably from the Hummingbird, because otherwise we won't be able to get a very good vantage point, and just see whether or not it's behaving in the way that we expect it to behave. So there's a lot of things that we still need to take a close look at before we can say that we're ready to move on to the next stage of the development, which will be the dropship for multiple WobbleCopters, and then we'll be on to other things. So if you're unfortunately wanting to see more from the WobbleCopter today than just a run at the planet and stopping short as the sun was going down and the horizon was in view, I do apologize, but there's a limited amount of time that I have to gather footage for these things, and all of the extra stuff that we had to do in the name of just getting the WobbleCopter safely to the surface while keeping our character in and amongst our station kind of ate up all that time. So the next episode, you can expect a little bit more action shot, if a miner can be an action shot, but hopefully that'll work out. And then we'll be looking at probably a much larger ship build than I anticipate, only in this case we're not talking about complicated things, we're just talking about size, so that it can accommodate all of these WobbleCopters and all of the thrusters necessary to move them around when the WobbleCopters and the cargo containers on the dropship itself are full of minerals. So if you want to be notified about those upcoming episodes, as always, you can subscribe to my channel, you can follow me on social media. Links for social media are in the information box below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.